Yesterday we saw typical methods. Basically Hibernate, you understand, we completed 2 sessions, so by this time you guys would have been understand, like, it is a layer, a framework, a tool, a functionality that provides the connectivity between your Java and the database. And it is the responsibility, it has its own responsibility of converting your Pojo classes into SQL queries and inserting into the database. So one way is using simple methods. So for insertion we are using save, or another one is save or update. And for update we have update or merge. For delete we have a delete. And what else we have? Save, update, select, right? For select what we have? Get, comma, load. So we saw, by using these different functionalities we can access the data. Another way is HQL. So Hibernate still want to encourage the developers or users who are interested in still using the kind of SQL by supporting HQL language, Hibernate query language. Okay, so how are we going to do? Let me show it to you. So that approach, dot HQL. Student HQL operations. Okay, in this block, what is typical, what are the predefined steps that have been involved? Let me copy and then remove unnecessary stuff. Up to this piece we are good, right? Okay, so how are we going to select the data? How are we going to update the data? These are the things we need to give a try with the different options that we got, right? So we already inserted data into database. Let's write one, we have data, right? Yeah, let's write an update query. Okay, for say string update student std, as for sake of, like, say update. What I'm trying to think is, like, I want to show one more scenario. Well, let's take some other guy. We tried with student, right? Let me show you another scenario with I'll take something like employee concept, so that I can explain you guys here. Here we're using same, let me create employee. I'm going to do all HQL with employee. Why? Because I want to show you another scenario which I don't want to change the existing one. Employee object. Okay, so in employee object we're gonna take private int empid private string emp name private string emp department and private double salary. Okay, for the sake of quickly updating, I'm going to use a argument based constructor so that I don't need to set the values every time, set ID, set employee name, set department. So just to always, getters and setters are better, but you can do it in this way as well. Okay, print emp id string emp name string emp department string salary. So in this case, we just write this dot emp id equal to emp id, this dot emp name equal to emp name, this dot emp department equal to emp department, this dot. I should have taken small pain, right? It's okay. Updating everything. Okay. So you are assigning the values. Oh, it's double. And then write your two things. Source. Select all. Okay. So now corresponding EMP employee table you should write right here. So HBM dot Hibernate dot HQL. What is the name? Employee. Okay. So I want to call the table as EMP. Employee details, something like that. I don't need to use the same name of my Pojo with the table name. I can use something else as well, right? So what I'm going to use, EMP details. EMP details. And here all I need is ID. So ID I need to map it, right? So which ID I'm using it in my employee? Let me copy this, guys, so that it will save my time rather than switching the tabs, and then we can remove it later. Okay, so employee ID I'll take, ID name as employee ID. You can give column name as anything, COLUM. Column name, you don't need to use the same ID. If you want to use the different ones, you don't need to, whatever the Pojo object values that you have, if you want to use different in the table columns, if you want to use different ones, how do you map it? Here, that's what I'm trying to show you. That is the reason I thought of taking the one. EMP ID underscore ID, I'll call it. So this EMP ID is employee object attribute. EMP underscore ID is employee details table ID. Okay, and the same thing, name, we have EMP name, right? We have okay, EMP name and EMP department salary. Okay, so here you can say native, we are using generator, I already explained, right? So let me say if I use if I want to use simple name for the column, COLUMN, a column. I want to use emp underscore name. You can use it. Okay. And I want to convey that this value should not go as a null. Okay. Not null equal to true, which means whenever you are inserting, this value must. Anyway, employee ID is must because it is a primary key. Primary key is must in any table if you want to insert something. So I am trying to make another column which is important to me, even though it is not primary key, which is employee name. I am making this one as not null, which means if somebody trying to insert with empty employee name, it will throw an error. But somebody can throw a empty department. And I am trying to say salary also must. Whoever going to use this, they must define the salary as well. That's what not null means. Okay. Yeah. And what you need to do, this Hibernate mapping, what you need to do, into Hibernate configuration file you need to go and then copy paste it one more time. Okay, make sense? Okay, nice. So now come back to here. This one, rename it. Employee HQL operations. And another table, another class I'll create. Employee save operation. Okay. What I'm going to do using employee save operations, I'm going to create at least 10 to 12 records in the database. Okay. Stop me if I'm going too fast. So what I need to do, I need to create employee emp equal to emp1 equal to new employee. You want to pass ID? Do you want to pass ID or don't need to pass ID? Even if you pass ID, you don't need to generate an ID, right? First thing. If you try to generate an ID, let us see what will happen, right? Employee name 1. It will ignore, I guess. String employee department is generate. Salary. Okay, let's create. Sorry. Yes, yes. Okay. So I'm using same ID. Let's see what will happen, whether this guy will accept or not. What we can do is dot save. Okay, save and close up. So let's go back and see, is there any table with that? What is the table name that we expect to create? EMP details. Okay, there is no table there as of now. Let's go back and employee save operation. Let's run this there. It's not created. Employee table has been created. Let's see data. No data. Why is that? We forgot one thing. Px dot comment. Okay, now run again. Now if you try to see, select star from hiv schema chgm schema dot emp details. See, all are created. Okay, nice. So now that is not my goal, right? So now I have a record, so I need to play HQL. So first thing is, what I want to do is, with HQL, there are different operations you can do. We can keep on trying as many as we can, and then we can jump onto CriteriaQuery. You want to update an employee name for a particular, you want to update employee name whose name is Prasad with Rajesh. Okay. So what you can do, you will write string update emp name query. What are you going to do? You update. You're not going to write these values. You are not going to use these values. You're going to use your object values. Okay. Update employee, your table, your object, employee object. Okay. Set emp name. That is what emp name, right? We have, yeah, emp name equal to Rajesh. Sorry, we should do a single quote because if you confused whether the end of statement or not, where emp name equal to Prasad. So this is my HQL query. I'm still going to use it. Okay. Then now what I'm going to do is s dot. Basically, you create the query, whatever the query that you want to generate. Using this, you are going to create the query. Okay. Query equal to session dot create query. Okay, you are going to use create query, the query instance for manipulation and execution. Okay, and then you need to pass this guy. This guy, what it will give? It will give you query. Wait, is query. Okay, now you got the query. Then you have, if you go back here, I don't remember exactly, so I'll go back to my basics. Data updation, insertion or updation will should use execute update. You should use execute update. Okay, and for one second, any select queries, unique results and list, these two you need to use. Okay, so here as I am updating record, what do you need to do? You need to pass this query to execute. Once the query has been executed, query dot which one, execute update, and it is giving it what is the output it is giving. It is an int. If it is successful, it will give an int. So all I want to know is whether it is updated or not, right? So int result. Okay, so this is the update query, update it. If result is 1, then it is updated. If result is not 1, then it is not updated. Those kind of conditions you can write, right? So let me run this program. It should be updated Prasad place. It should become as Rajesh. Still Prasad. We did again same mistake, right? Tx dot commit. It updated to Rajesh. Okay, that is another one way of writing the update query. So as we don't want to run, okay, let's keep it there. What is the wrong, right? So one section is done. Next one is, I'm just using same program rather than writing separate. Okay. You want to select all the employees that are there in the result, in the what you call the what we can write. So next query is select operation. Let's see. You want to select an employee with employee ID 12. Okay. How do you write the query? Select query. Okay. First thing is you need to write string select a particular employee, right? Select emp equal to not, you don't need to write select star from blah blah blah. All you need to do is from employee MPL OY employee, from employee, where this is not SQL, right? That's the reason it's HQL. It has its own definitions. What is the ID? Yeah, emp ID equal to which one you want to see? You want to see 16 Sarita. Okay. Okay. So then what you need to do? You need to write a query. Query select q equal to session dot create query, and then select emp. Then using select q dot, what are you expecting? What are you expecting? You are expecting a result. What kind of result you are expecting? You are expecting a single record, right? So unique result. So what kind of object it is? Employee. Employee E1 equals, and you need to downcast it. Object to, okay. Then display it. If it is showing it up, that's working fine. Okay, let's run the program. Okay, I got an error. There is no default constructor. Why does it care about default constructor? If you have, oh, I think you need a default constructor, because I do see the reason. Yeah, you need to have a default constructor. Why? Because, let me explain. What happens here? Select unique result. It will give you fourth record. Then what it will do? It will try to update your employee object, right? It will try to create an employee object and provide it to you. Try to create in the sense, object should be created. So what is the syntax for creating an object? Employee equal to new E1, right? New employee. So, but you have what? You have only argument based constructor. But Hibernate is trying to create default constructor. You getting my point? You created argument based constructor because you want to insert the data in single shot. But these values it doesn't have. So what it is? What it is going to use? It is going to use a default constructor. Public. If you are not understand, let me know. Employee. Okay, now if you run this program, you got it. Employee name 16, Sarita, Scala, finite. Okay. Okay. So select query is done. Select a single record. So what is next? What we can do? Let's say you want to see all the records that has been there in the database, right? So what you can do? Select all records in the database. Okay. String select all query equal to, all you need to do is no condition, right? Employee. That's it. And then you need to write your own query. Query object, query all equal to s dot create query select all. Then what you need to do, then query all dot, you are asking all employees, which means a list of objects, right? A list of objects, a list of employee objects. So query dot list, query dot list. What kind of list it is? An employee list, right? A query dot list is what kind of list it is? A list of employees. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the results in to employee. Okay, you got my point. Now by asking from employee, it will give all the list. You are asking it, give me all the list. So when it is giving list, you need to hold it in your list, right? It's a list of employees. How do you display them? For each employee, even emp in elist, just display them. Emp. That's it, right? Let's see what happens. You can see all the employees that has been there in the table. You are able to see all the employees that has been there in the table. Good. I hope you are catching it up, because these are, I'm just trying to show you all different kind of scenarios, so that in case if you want to refer back, you can refer this session. What else we can do? Update, we did. Delete, anyways we can simply write, right? Delete a record kind of thing. What if you want to, okay, what I'm trying to say, what if you want to, rather than selecting all rows, all columns, you want to select only ID and column. You want to select both. You don't want a department, you don't want salary. You want to select all employee IDs, all employee names. How do you do that? Right? So this is a little tricky, but just remember this is a typical one step. Select all employee IDs and name. Something like that. Only IDs, only name, all the employees IDs, something like that. So how can you do that, right? So first thing is, what you need to do, you need to write a string query, right? String all employee emp names equal to select emp name comma salary from employee select employee name, salary from employee, and then query equal to session dot create query emp names okay. Now it's a tricky, because now you are not you getting the list, but it's not employee list. Agreed? You are getting a list, but it is not employee list. It is a subset of employee list. You are just asking employee name and salary. You are not asking remaining all the fields, right? Agree? So what you need to do, but it is a list again. Query dot list. It will provide you a list of names and employees. So we know it is a list. A list What is that list? As we don't have anything, list of object. Okay, list of objects obj list equal to. So you just took the list of objects. An object is a combination of employee name and salary. Like that, we have more than 5 to 6 objects in that object list. So we got it in an object. But how do you display them, right? So what you can do for each object in obj list, then you're going to get each object is going to have a 2 values of type array. You getting my point? So you're going to have 4 rows here, right? ID, name, course, salary. So, but you want to extract only these two. Okay, this is your employee object, but you are trying to extract only these two. So that's the reason it's a typical object. A typical object of a list of objects, object 1, object 2, object 3. But this object 1, each one contains what? ID, salary. ID, salary. So this is the list. So you want to extract again. Okay, from that object. How do you extract? Object of, it's an array of objects, obj array equal to, all you need to say is it's an object of array. Give me that object. Then you can ask like a obj array of 0, obj array of 7. So now if you run this program, see it displayed only name and salary. If you want to just create some gap so that you can see clearly, and also assert it. See, you got only name and salary. Agreed? Okay, these are the different HQL queries we can write. There is some challenges where you can't write conditional based or maximum salary, or like you can write your max salary of employee. So how do you select, like if somebody asks you, let me write another query. If somebody asks you to write, can you extract maximum salary of an employee? Okay, what you can do, employee names, select max of salary from employee. So this is the aggregate function, maximum salary from employee. So this gives your name. Here again you write a query to max salary query equal to s dot create query emp name max salary dot unique result, you will get a result, but you want to display only salary of that employee, right? You want to display employees maximum result, so it is trying to find this results. You want to convert that result into double. See what I'm trying. The results you are converting into double, so dot double value, now you can capture into double. Those are all like conversions. Just go back and look at it how we did. Okay, if you're a little bit confused, we discussed about it in the core Java. So you can say max salary, only salary, you don't extracted any value, t. Okay, max salary is 590. Check it out. In this section, max salary is 590, right? So those are all called aggregate functions as well. One more is we need to write different criteria queries. How do you write, like, you want to write conditional based, like, greater than or equal to, you want to, let's say you want to display an employee whose salary is less than 150, greater than 30, and you want to select only particular column, kind of thing. Those kind of operations, right? There is a little bit complexity involved in that operations, right? So as of now, we wrote a typical, like, every time we are selecting a record or a set of records, a part of the record we are selecting, and we haven't added much conditions. If you want to add a conditions, you are like, ahead of a time, you are sending the values. Ahead of a time, you are sending the values and trying to extract it, like the way you did it here, ahead of a time in the query itself. But if you want to pass dynamically, how do you do that? Here your HQL in this way. So how do you do that? Using criteria queries. Using criteria queries. How do we do that? Let me show it here. Employee PLO employee criteria queries. Yep, but its HQL is understandable by only Hibernate, not by anyone. Criteria queries. So if you look at criteria query is mainly used for select operations by applying conditions. By applying conditions, like, if you want to write like greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, you can use select operations. But in order to apply those operations, in order to write the conditions, you can use restrictions, but you can use projections for selecting particular column. Restrictions and projections are important in criteria queries. Okay, restrictions and projections are important in criteria queries. In order to select conditions, you need to use restriction classes. In order to select particular columns, you need to use projections. Don't get simple, these are difficult terminology of Hibernate, apart from that, simple queries. Okay, so let's say you have a table. So you want to select a record with the max of this column and minimum of this column, and greater than this column. This kind of conditions. Applying conditions, you can use what you call restrictions class. And you want to select only this column. You don't want about this all these remaining columns. You just want to select this column. Then you can use projections. you can use together, right? Projection, by applying restrictions, you can select the projections so that you can get one particular column. How do we do that? So let's start. Let me copy our typical queries so that I can save some time. Okay. You don't need this part, right? Yeah. That is where we are going to write all our logics. So let's say as per our in the website I mentioned, right? How do we write different queries? Let me try a couple of them and take it as an assignment for the remaining ones. So I'll go back and look at it. First one is, how do we write a simple criteria query? I'll show you. You want to simply select all the records in the database. Just now we did using HQL, we tried selecting all records in the database. Now I'm showing how to do it with criteria query. Okay. Sorry. See, spelling is really criteria C equal to S dot create criteria. All you need to say is employee dot class. You just need to pass that object class. CriteriaQuery is smart enough to identify the table and going, by using Hibernate mapping configuration file and then finding the criteria. Okay. Then all you need to say is C dot. Earlier you need to say, you used to do query dot list, right? So C dot list. What kind of list it is? A list of employees. E-list. So how do you iterate? You know it, but I'll do it so that at least if I check in into the GitHub, you guys can look at it. For each employee, E in E-list SYSUT. That's it. You selected the query and you displayed it to the data. So run the query. All the list you got. What we did here, in order to create a criteria, what is the criteria? From session, you creating the criteria by passing the particular object, whatever the object that you want. So this will return you all the records that has been there in that table, employee table. So you need to loop it. So you need to be very careful. If you have million records in the table, if you use this one, it takes hell lot of a time to loop it. So you always careful when you say select star from table. You need to have always conditions. Okay. So let's put another condition like select all, right? Select all from database. Employee table. Okay. Nice. Next one is select employee PLO employee where salary is greater than 150. Salary is greater than or equal to greater than or equal, sorry, let me use it like this, greater than or equal to 150. I want to know the employees who is getting more than 150 salary. How do we write it? Criteria C1 equal to S dot create criteria. Here you're going to say employee dot class. Then, like I mentioned, what are two options that we have? Restrictions and projections. You want a condition, right? A condition where greater than or equal to use. So which one you need to use? You need to use restrictions, right? So now restrictions dot, there are bunch of restrictions. See, all are equal to, and criteria between, conjunction, distinction, equal to, greater than or equal to, greater than or equal to, G is greater than or equal to, great, just greater than, less than or equal to, all these things are there. So my greater than or equal to is my criteria, right? What is the column? I need to convey the column name. So what is my column name? I mean, what is my column object, criteria, or condition object, condition attribute, sorry, keep wrong names. Condition attribute salary. Okay, what is the value? My value is 150. That is the restriction I have. But this restriction, from where it will come? It will be resulted to what? Criterion, not criteria, criterion, another one. Okay, criterion, not criteria. Okay, will be resulted to criterion. This is the criterion that you have on your criteria query with restrictions. Okay, so you need to pass this criterion to criteria. You need to pass this criterion to criteria. So this criterion is holding the restriction. Criteria is holding the your query, employee query. Okay, so what you need to do? C1 criteria dot add. You just add criteria. Make sense? Basically, this is the select query. This is the condition. You want to add this condition into select query. That is what you're doing. C1 dot add criteria. So now it become select star from employee where salary is greater than or equal to 150 after adding this line. Okay. Now you don't know whether you can get one record. If salary is greater than 150, you don't know whether you can get one record of employee or more than one record of employee. So which means you need to take the result into a list, right? So what is that list? List of employees, elist 1 equal to, again same, C1 dot list. All we did is we added a restriction on this. If you simply use this one, you will get all the records, but your criterion is salary is greater than or equal to 150. So you will get only a list with, this list is giving all the records, this list is giving a list with employees who are getting more than salary more than 150. Okay, salary more than 150. All employees. Okay, next one is let's run this program, right? First we need to see. Same query, we need to repeat it. That's it. But you need to do elist1. integer cannot be cast to double. Yeah, see, this is the all employee list, and this is salary more than 150. Only 3 records are there. We have total how many records? 6 records are there, but we got only 3 records if you apply a condition, but you are getting complete record detail, right? What if you want only ID and name? You don't want salary, you don't want language. So now we need to apply. Now we need to know how to apply restrictions. You need to understand how to apply the projection. How to apply the projection. Projections are used to display the columns, only few specific columns, right? So select name, comma, salary from employee where technology is, sorry, course, what is that? Department is what course? Department is course. Department is, sorry, Python. So you want to select employee name and salary. If it is department is, if employee department is Python. So you need to get only these 2 records, Nag and Bhavita. Let's see. So first thing what we need to write, criteria C2 equal to s dot create criteria. What is that? Employee dot class. Then what you need to write? Criterion CR equal to restrictions dot, what is your condition? Apply an equals constraint to each property in a key set of map. Apply an equal constraint to the name property if the value is null instead of null. This is equal. What is the value? Python. Python. This is the restriction we want to apply. CR2, something like criterion 2. Then you need to write the projections. What are the projections that you have? So one projection is projections dot property. What and all you need to display? Name, right? Yeah. Employee name, salary. Employee name, salary also. Okay. And this is one projection. And another one projection is projections. Is it a projection or projections? I think projections. Projections dot property. What you want to display? Employee name and salary, right? Salary. But you need to take these values into projection. projection. This is P1 projection, one projection. This is one column. Simple way of saying, if you are confusing with the words, this is another column. One column is employee name, another column is salary. These two projections you want, but you want two projections. You want to combine first these two projections together. First you want to combine these two projections together. So how do we add the projections together? Projection list, projection list, PL equal to projections dot, it's just a simple list creating. First you created a simple list and then you're going to add PL dot add of P1. So then P list I'll say, rather than confusing. Add of P1 P list dot add of P2. Okay, nice. Next thing is, you got a projection list, you got a criteria list, you have a criteria. So into this criteria, select star from employee. First you need to write the conditions. How do you write? C2 dot add of criterion. Okay, C2 dot add of criterion to, but you haven't included the projection set into this criteria. How do we include? C2 dot set projections. What is the list? P list. Okay, this is P list. You added criterion, you added the list, done. Then you will get a list of employees with employee name and salary, whose department ID is, I need to pass the department ID, right? Otherwise how could you identify? This one doesn't equal to restrictions dot which one means, I think equal is, yeah, you have equal, so we don't need to worry about it. What is equal? If employee department is Python, yeah, so now you get what you call a list of employees list to equal to C2 dot list, and then for each employees name and salary with employee name and salary for employee with department, employee in department Python. You're getting my point? So your conditions as well as restrictions you are writing, restrictions as well as columns you are selecting. So columns will be selected using projections. So basically what you did, you created each projection, each column, and then in columns, what are the columns? You kept it in a columns list, and that columns list you passed it to criteria using set projection, and then same thing criteria, you wrote criteria, you passed it to CriteriaQuery. Okay, we'll copy paste the whole list. Man, yeah, whatever the speed I go, it's not finished. A lot of stuff to go. Okay, let's see. Holy cow. I need to pass which logic? Only two columns, right? If you have a two columns, not complete object, which logic we need to use? We need to use this logic. I hope you guys remember. We just discussed. Yeah. See? Just want to show you in detail, you can understand it. Corresponding SQL query. This is corresponding SQL query for select all. Okay. And then this is corresponding select query just with restriction that has been generated with the conditions that we wrote here. And the last one is, sorry, that is where it fits here, right? Right. Okay, so if you look at here, right, all I'm trying to show you is, see, instead of writing this employee query, but just by writing this line, it's Hibernate responsibility to generate this query. Getting my point? And same thing, this is for select all from employee table, but here where salary is greater than 150, so salary is greater than 150. Okay, next one is, so this is the query for greater than 150. It wrote like, you know, employee ID, employee name, employee department, employee salary from Hibernate schema dot employee details table where salary is whatever the value that we passed through our restriction. So it will generate the query like this. So for this guy here, just for selecting name and salary from employee where department is Python, then it will just employee name, employee salary from Hibernate where employee department is whatever we pass. So this query, in order to generate this query, we need to follow all this. You haven't wrote any single line of SQL query in this section, but it's by following the Hibernate definitions, by following understanding the Hibernate definitions, by injecting the Hibernate in definitions into Hibernate what you call conversion, then it will be converted into Hibernate query. I mean SQL query. So in order to write the criteria query, you need not to know Hibernate, SQL anymore. All you need to understand is how do you write the criteria, how do you write the criterion, how do you write the projection, how do you write the restrictions, how do we write multiple projections, how to use the projection list, what is the output we will get. These kind of things you need to understand. Make sense? And same aggregate functions also there. You will go back and look at it. It's not a big deal at all. Okay. So we are good with the criteria queries today. So these two are pending. I'll finish it tomorrow. So with that, Hibernate will be done. We'll do one small end-to-end integration with Spring and Hibernate. We just did a simple Hibernate, right? So we need to do how integrating with Spring, MVC, and Hibernate. With that way, we can see end-to-end flow. Maybe we'll do it on Saturday. With that, technically, officially, I'm done. But as I promised you guys to cover like MongoDB and AWS as well, I'll take a couple more classes on those. Okay. I will definitely discuss on MongoDB and next week. MongoDB and AWS. I also, before getting into the class, I want to practice 1 or 2 programs in AWS so that you guys can understand better how to deploy and what is what.